Hey, this is Rebecca Westman, and you're listening to the Wedding Collective podcast. I'm a Canadian wedding photographer based on the border of Alberta and Saskatchewan. Hey, Lloydminster! Welcome to your local go-to podcast for all things wedding planning. I'll be sitting down with real-life couples and local wedding vendors, connecting you to the best of the best in the Lloydminster area. Plus, I'll be sharing my own experiences as a wedding photographer, offering insights and advice on what I've learned while working with my couples. So, whether you're sipping coffee with your wedding planning checklist or just daydreaming about your perfect day, this podcast is your new best friend. Stay tuned for inspiring conversations, valuable insights, and a whole lot of love. This is the Wedding Collective podcast. Let the wedding adventure begin. Hello and welcome back to the Wedding Collective podcast. I'm so excited to have you back. And today we are talking all about elopements. I have the one and only Lindsey Hill on the podcast with me today. She is an incredible elopement, wedding, and family photographer from Southern Alberta. It was such a joy to chat with her, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation all about elopements as much as I did. Let's get into it. Hi, Lindsey. How's it going?
Hi, Rebecca. I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm really excited that you're here.
I'm stoked. I'm happy to be here, and I'm so excited for you that you're doing this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, guys. Lindsey is an amazing photographer, and you're based out of where exactly?
Southern Alberta. So I live pretty close to Lethbridge.
Okay, gotcha.
But the majority of my work is like in the mountains and the Rockies.
That's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on here, because you do so many elopements, and I thought it would be really cool to have one of my favorite photographers on.
Aww.
And and an incredible elopement photographer to talk to our listeners all things elopements.
Sweet. Well, I'm happy to share what I know.
Awesome. I'm excited. So first of all, before we jump into the elopement side of things, I would love it if you could just tell us about yourself and who you are kind of outside of your business.
So I'm Lindsey. I am a mother of two kids, Ellie and Jack. Ellie is almost a teenager. She's 12 and Jack is 7. And then I also have a dog, Sunny. He's a very naughty boy. I would say I'm definitely like an adventurer. I love just getting on the road, big road trips, lots of camping. I love downhill mountain biking and split boarding, backcountry skiing. And the kids love skiing and biking as well. We're always outside in the summer, especially.
Yes, that's how I think we originally connected, kind of before talking about photography. It was through adventuring, because we have that in common. My family loves to adventure, and we're always on the road, especially in the summer. And I think that's how we originally connected. It was so long ago now. But then I found out you were this amazing photographer. And and then we've kind of stayed in touch ever since, hey?
Yes, we have.
Okay, so now tell me about your photography business. When did you get started, and kind of how did you get to where you are today?
So it happened just like very organically. I had my daughter when I was really young. I was 21 actually. And I just instantly like grabbed a camera, and I was always taking photos of her. And then when Jack came along as well. And then some of my friends were just like, hey, like we love your photos. Can you do our family photos? And I remember my first ever family photo session took me like 3 hours. Like I don't even know what we were doing, but it took so long. But we were just having fun, and I was just kind of learning. And then it was like, like one of my friends, Brooke, she was like, can you do my wedding? And I was like, okay. And then I did my first wedding in, I think it was 2018. And then from there, it was just like, I'm a wedding photographer now.
Took off. Oh my
Or
gosh,
elopement photographer.
So cool.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So it was very like natural, and my friends just had way more confidence in me than I did, but it's getting there. So
that's awesome. So was your first wedding an elopement, or was it more of a traditional wedding?
It was a traditional wedding. I wouldn't say super traditional, actually. It was in a brewery, so it was super fun. Like They shut down the brewery. It was at Folding Mountain, just outside of Hinton, Alberta. And just like all of our closest friends and her closest family, his and hers. And that was my first ever little wedding. It was great.
That sounds really cool. That's funny you say that. I just met with a couple earlier this week, and they're doing the same thing. They're getting married out on their farm, and then they're having their whole reception
Aw.
at a brewery, and I'm like super excited for it. I think it's a cool
Yeah,
idea.
it's so fun. It's like such an just intimate
Mm-hmm.
place too, when you
Yeah.
can just shut the doors and be like, okay, we can have a
Yeah.
great time all
Yeah.
night.
Absolutely. And it's like different. It's nice to do
Yeah.
something different. I love
Yeah,
that.
I agree.
So then 2018 was your first wedding. When was your first elopement then?
So my first elopement was shortly after that, actually. An Instagram friend, her name is Amber. She hired me. She just like reached out and she was like, "Hey, like I saw you did this wedding. Will you do my heli elopement?" And I was like,
Whoa.
"Yes, I will."
Oh my gosh.
So, and I was like such a newbie too. I just remember showing up in Canmore. I'd never done a heli elopement. That was actually my first time in a helicopter.
Wow.
And I had like a one piece on and like little sandals. And I get there and the officiant like looks me up and down. She's like, "Did you bring hikers?" And I was like, "Actually, I did. Should I wear them?" She's like, "Yes, we're going on top of a mountain."
That's so
So
funny.
yeah, it was pretty comical, especially looking back. I can laugh about it now. But yeah, it was beautiful. We just got dropped off on top of a mountain, just the bridegroom, officiant, and her mother. And we just like wandered up in this meadow for 2 hours. It was beautiful.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so dreamy.
Yeah, definitely inspired my elopement career.
I bet. Oh my gosh. I can't imagine just getting a taste of that and being like, okay,
Yeah, it
I
was
need
so
to make
good.
this my life now.
Yes, yeah,
That's
it
so
was so
cool.
good.
All right. So I'd love to really deep dive into elopements and talk to you about what they are, why couples are choosing them, and then how on earth a couple would start planning one. So I'm sure by now, like, how many elopements have you done?
Oh, I should have counted. I do have like a running list of all the weddings and elopements I've done,
Wow.
but probably close to 30 maybe. Yeah.
That's so cool. All right. So, first of all, what are some of the most common reasons that couples are choosing to elope?
I would say just when I think about an elopement, I think about like just that special relationship that you have with you and your partner. And you're kind of like getting away from pleasing everybody else and just like kind of running away and being like, "I love you, you love me, let's get married." It's like just
Mm-hmm.
super intimate and you're kind of avoiding the crowds and yeah, all the expectations. You don't have to worry about the invite list and
Mm-hmm.
just pleasing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of why I think couples get married.
Yeah, like when they're choosing those elopements over those big, big weddings. I think too,
Yeah.
like, I think it sounds like so much more or less stress because there's not so
Yes.
many moving pieces, especially because there's just fewer people, right? And it can be as big or as little as you want it to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's less like it's not rigid. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
like focus on meeting this certain timeline and all of
Mm-hmm.
these different times
Right,
and you
where
don't
it's
have to
like
worry
you
about
have,
entertaining anybody. You're just like free.
yes, and you can
Yeah.
therefore like focus on each other and what you're
Yeah.
actually there to do.
Yeah.
That's really cool. But yeah, I'm assuming that would be really nice to just be free of the timeline and not worry about, okay, our ceremony starts at this time and then our dinner starts at this time, and
Yeah.
like there's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a
It
lot.
is.
It can be really stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if it depends on your personality, but it also depends like on your timeline and how much help you've had with your timeline. And yeah, doing an elopement, it would be a lot less to manage.
Yes, yeah, I
That's
think
sweet.
so.
Well,
So I think
I
just like
think
kind of running away from the people pleasing part of it and the stress, and you're
mhm,
just like, you know what, it's just between you and I, and maybe
mhm.
we have our closest best friends there or family.
Yeah, Mark and I, we always joke that if we could go back and redo our wedding, we would be doing a mountaintop elopement for sure.
Yeah.
It's like we got married when we were really young. I guess I was 22 and he was 23. And
Wow.
yeah, and so we did a lot of people pleasing back then. And even though our wedding wasn't massive like some are, yeah, oh my gosh, if we could do it all over again, being the people we are now, it would be 100% without a doubt in our minds, we would elope in the mountains.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I think and I do see why people have these big weddings too, because I feel like it's also nice to have all your favorite people in one place.
Yes.
I just think that it is a lot of work when it comes down to it. And the day of, you kind of have to have that mindset of like, okay, like it's going to be a busy, crowded day, like really full day. And you just have to be able to embrace that side of it as well.
Yeah, you have to be like excited about that to be able to enjoy it.
Yes, that's key.
And some people, yeah, I totally get it too. Like people love that. People love getting absolutely everybody together and just having one big party. I can definitely see why people choose one or the other. Like they're both good options. It just depends so much on your personality and what you want to focus on, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but elopements are a really great option for couples who want to avoid the stress and avoid all the managing their timeline and all that.
Yes,
for sure. So what advice would you give to couples who are considering choosing an elopement?
Oh,
it's kind of a broad question.
It is, but I guess I would say dream big. You can have exactly what you want. If your elopement looks like just getting married inside your house or your backyard or on a mountaintop, like we can make any of that happen. And so like let your photographer know what your vision is.
Yeah, that's really cool. Because I think sometimes when we think of an elopement, some people think about just going to like an all-inclusive resort somewhere and like doing that type of elopement. But we see a lot more mountaintop elopements now, or like, you're literally hiking from like 3 a.m. up to your spot where you want to go elope. Or like you said, sometimes it can be right in your backyard. Like there's all these different types of elopements. I would love to hear actually some of the different types of elopements you have done.
I had a couple this summer that actually road tripped out here from Manitoba. Cool. And they like just had purchased their they got married before, but we did like the vows and a little ceremony just with them two out in the Icefields Parkway. And so that was just really beautiful because I had 2 hours with them. It was just us three. It was super intimate. They wrote each other vows and we had like a little ceremony and a first kiss and champagne. And I just felt like it was so special. And it was such a like true elopement that they literally like kind of ran away, did not tell their friends and family, and just did this by themselves. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, especially when you're not telling anyone, nobody knows it's happening.
Yeah, it just felt really like authentic. And then this one was I wouldn't consider it elopement because it was over like, say I consider an elopement to be like 5-6 people. This was, I think, about 15 to 20 people. But we did a sunrise intimate wedding on top of a mountain, on top of Tent Ridge. And the bride and groom were able to collect their closest friends and family, like their parents as well. And we hiked for sunrise. So we were all probably up by 4 a.m. that morning and starting our hike. So that was really cool. And it was just so cool to be on top of a mountain as the sun is rising and just see their closest friends and family. It was beautiful.
Oh, I can imagine. Oh my gosh. And I'm sure that's so dreamy as a photographer getting to photograph something like that.
Yeah, it is just like, I just can't shut up when like all of the beautifulness is happening. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I love this. Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, so exciting.
Wow, that sounds beautiful. Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying learning all about elopements with Lindsey and I today. And I wanted to remind you that if you are looking for a wedding or elopement photographer, I would love to work with you. Just head to my website, www.rebeccawestman.com/contact, and we can chat about your date. I am booking into 2025, but I have a couple dates left in 2024. Now let's get back to the episode. So, I guess I want to know, like, how do you help couples navigate the process of planning an elopement, especially when they're like unsure kind of where to start?
So usually when a couple kind of rolls into my email, I try to set up a call like immediately just so that I can really go over their vision. I'm like, okay, like what does an elopement mean to you? Like, where are you coming from? Kind of what is your budget? And what is your vision? Like, what is this looking like? Whether it's like seasonal, like, do you want a winter elopement? Do you want a summer one? Do you know the location that you have in mind? And we kind of just slowly go from there. As soon as I can learn like budget, I kind of know how many hours I'll have for them or with them, And then the areas, I can kind of help nail down a location if they don't have that set already. And then I also have like a list of other vendors if they are needing flowers or their makeup done or an officiant. And then right down to like the directing of the day of.
Right. So I guess it would be super dependent on whether like they want to hike up a mountain or they want to do a helicopter type of thing, or they just want to meet somewhere in the mountains where you don't really have all of that.
Exactly.
You kind of like help them build like the day and what that's going to look like.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I guess for you, like, since you travel so much with your kids and you camp so much, are you able to kind of location scout while you're out with your family a lot?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
That's so cool.
I've traveled a lot, like in the Alberta and BC area. So it's pretty easy for me to be like, okay, I've been there. That's going to be beautiful. Or like, oh, I think I have a better suggestion for you.
Yeah, that's
that works
so nice.
very well.
I bet. Oh my gosh. Especially with like all your mountain biking and everything like that.
Yes. Yeah.
That's really sweet.
Yeah. We find some really cool locations.
Yeah, I know you do. Because I'm always like, where are you? This looks so nice. Okay. And so what are some of the common misconceptions about elopements?
So this one was a tough one. I was trying to think about this, and then it kind of hit me. It was like, I think one of the big misconceptions is that people think that just because you're eloping, your photographer's rate is going to be lower. And that's just not true, because photographers usually charge per hour, whether it's 2 hours or 8 hours. So just because you are eloping, our rates are going to be just very, very comparable to like a huge wedding that we would shoot.
Right. Just possibly less hours, right? That's where it
Yes.
would
Yeah.
change.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really interesting. So I'm curious how you work that. Like, do you have kind of a minimum and then, or a minimum number of hours that you would suggest, or how do you work that with your clients?
Yes, I do. I feel like pricing is always evolving. It's really, it's always evolving. You're kind of figuring out what works and what doesn't. And so what works for me is a 4-hour elopement package. And I think it works better with the clients because then you have more time for that creativity and space. And it just takes all pressure off. You're like, okay, we have 4 hours. We can go to like 3 or 4 different locations. We can take our time and we can breathe in between.
Well, and too, when you have that pressure off and you have that extra time, then you are able to, I guess, as like an artist, as a photographer, you're able to really try so many different things and go to these different locations. And therefore you end up with the most beautiful images. And I mean, I think when people are like deciding to do an elopement like this, they're going to value photography to begin with, right? Because you're the one vendor other than the officiant, really, that, I mean, obviously they're going to have a florist and makeup artist and all that, but like they're probably going to be spending the most money on you. It's not the venue they're paying for or the dinner they're paying for. This is like the most important thing, is getting this moment captured, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Which is so like fun for us as photographers is someone is hiring us because they love our work. So that's just like the most exciting part, because they roll in and they just like love us, and they're like, typically like our ideal clients are just like, okay, like whatever the cost is, let's do this. I love your work and I trust you and you're the professional.
Yeah, please do your thing. And, you know, we want our photos to look like the rest of your work. And that is like a huge compliment.
It is.
And it gives you so much more freedom with that extra time, like rather than like a 1 hour type of thing or something that's just, to me, that sounds really stressful. Especially if you're in a new location you've never been to before with an elopement or something. You know?
Yeah. So I used to do 2-hour elopements, and I did some even this past summer, but I recently decided like, no, 2 hours isn't enough. 4 hours is my minimum.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. And as you do more and more, you just learn those things, right? And then it's really better for the couples in the long run too, because they're getting the most out of their photographer and out of the experience.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
moving on, for couples who are on a tight budget, what are some cost-effective yet meaningful elopement ideas that you've seen?
I would say I've seen couples kind of attach their elopement to their honeymoon.
Oh,
So I
cool.
think that's a good idea. Like, be like, okay, we're going to do it all in one, and we're going to go away for a week or 2 weeks and go on maybe a road trip and get married and just wham bam.
That's so
Secondhand
sweet.
wedding dress. I think that's like a really good idea. I think
I did that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I wore my cousin's dress.
Oh my gosh, perfect.
Totally.
Yeah, that's great. I think if you can thrift anything, it's just such a deal.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess when you're eloping, if you're like, traipsing up a mountain and you're possibly going to get the bottom of it all dirty in your hiking boots, or who knows like what that looks like. But if there's that possibility, like why not have a secondhand one?
Yeah.
There's so many.
And there's also
there.
so many like budget friendly wedding dress sites online too.
Cool.
That you can get like a very cute white dress for $100 and you're set.
That's awesome.
I would say like if you are on a tight budget, find a local photographer, because then you're not getting charged for potential like travel fees or accommodation fees. So I think that's a really good idea. And then also having like a backyard wedding, or like having your wedding or elopement, local to the area you live in.
Right. Yeah. Because you can still do an elopement without having to travel super far away.
Yeah, for sure.
And it can still be super intimate, just the two of you, or, a couple friends or whatever. Okay. So in your opinion, what are some key factors couples should consider when they are choosing an elopement destination?
I think that it's important for couples to usually you have kind of a vision. You're like, okay, this is how I see myself eloping. But I think that people kind of look at photos and they're like, oh, like that's what I want. But you really have to look at that photo and be like, okay, what season was that? What time of day was that? So kind of considering the months, the times of day. I would say you have to consider your cost as well, your budget.
Right, because travel, accommodation, all that stuff too, right?
Yeah, like say you want a heli elopement, you have to factor in, okay, my photographer is going to cost this much, the heli is this much, we have to stay the night in Nordegg or wherever it may be. So just really factoring in all of the costs behind this. Right. And then, yeah, like I said, just the season and what that vision really is that you want.
Yeah, that makes sense. And too, everybody loves that golden hour right before sunset. And yeah, you have to plan around that then, especially in the mountains, it can look a little bit different too, right?
Yeah. And so I can't stress that enough. When you're talking to your client, you really have to be like, okay, what is your vision? Give me some examples. And then you can kind of help the client out, be like, okay, well, I see this image. This is beautiful, but this was at 7:00 at night in the summer, or, and then they're like, well, we want to be done by 3 p.m. And then it just kind of changes your vision a little bit, and you get to find the balance of exactly what you're feeling.
Right. What they want versus kind of what's possible.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm sure that would be really nice to just be able to give couples that guidance when you're chatting with them and, help them in that planning process.
Yeah, I love that part too. And I love helping them with the timeline because, and that's really important. A really important part of our job is helping with the timeline, because if you're not a photographer, you don't know what everything takes for time and the in-between moments as well. So
yeah, it's super important. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
If your photographer is not helping you with your timeline, I would be worried.
I feel bad for my clients. I'm harassing them about timeline all the time. I'm like, okay, do you have an idea? Yeah, I really want to help you with this.
I know. I feel like I talk about it all the time, like a broken record, but it's worth it in the end, so that there's no stress.
Yeah. Agreed.
Just get that timeline all figured out far in advance.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was awesome. I think that was a great episode. It was so nice to chat with you about elopements before we finish. Is there anything else that's on your mind that you're just itching to get out that you would want to throw out there for anyone considering eloping?
Well, just that I guess eloping, like we have been saying, is it just takes away the stress and really allows for us to create and gives us that space, and it helps you to connect with your partner too and really focus on why you're there.
Yeah. And again, like when we're doing bigger weddings, it's easy for the day to slip by because it's so busy. And I do try to, as best as I can, like we were talking about the timeline, when we're creating that timeline and going over the timeline again and again, like I always try to make sure they're carving in time just to be together, just the two of them, sneak away for a little bit. Sometimes that means like sunset photos or something like that, but it could be a moment where even I'm not there, right? And they're just having a moment to actually take in what's happening on that day and connect.
Yeah, that is key.
It is, but it's so easy for that to be derailed if things are behind, schedule. That's the easiest thing to kind of let go of because we got to move on with the schedule. And eloping is nothing but being together, right? And it's like
exactly. Yeah, and like if a storm rolls in, like we have no timeline. We can just like let that storm pass, or who cares? Go get wet in the storm,
Yes. Embrace it.
Yeah. And if something happens the day of, like, there's no stress because there aren't 100 people relying on you two to show up for each time.
Yeah. And entertain them or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's so cool. It sounds super dreamy. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, so Lindsey, it's so funny. Even when I just have to say this side note, even when I put it in my calendar that we were chatting today, I'm like, podcast interview with Ellens.
Yeah, I love that. I get that all the time.
Do you? Oh, it's so funny. Yeah. And when I talk to my husband about you, I'm like, Ellens? Because it's your Instagram name for your like more personal account. And I've always
I made it so long ago. I made that because it was just me and Ellie. So it's just like L-E-L and Lins. And so people are like, is it E-Lins? Is it L-Lins? It's whatever you want it to be. But yeah, I love that.
So funny. Yeah. So anyway, that was just kind of random, but I was thinking of that because I would love for you to let all the listeners know how they can find you, your social media, your website, and all that stuff. And I'll throw them in the show notes as well.
Thank you so much. So yes, my Instagram, my professional Instagram is Lindsey Elora. Elora is my middle name. And then you can find me at lindseyelora.com as well. And then I have a personal kind of adventure account that just shows all the real life and behind the scenes. And it is L-Lins or E-Lins.
Yeah, you guys need to follow both accounts because you're such a fun person to follow. I love following all your adventures. And I was thinking we'll have to try to like meet up and camp together one time.
Yes, it'd be really fun. Should definitely do that. Let's do that this year.
Yeah, we should. And then we can do photos too. It'd be great.
Yes. Yeah, I'm into this.
Awesome. We'll have to make a plan. Awesome. Okay, so then at the end of all of my interviews, I'm doing these snapshot questions. They're just quick little questions kind of to get to know you a little bit better. So snapshot question number 1 is, what are you reading or watching or listening to right now?
I don't watch a lot of TV. We've been trying to like get through this series Griselda on Netflix.
I heard about that.
Yeah, it's really good, except I start watching it and within the first 3 minutes I'm sleeping. So, but it is really good so far. And then I just started this book. It's pretty dark. It's called Gross Misconduct, and it's based on a true story that happened in Spruce Grove. It's really tragic, actually. This woman originally from Edson, her name's Tracy Stark, lost her 2 boys to her ex-husband. And so it's based on a true story. It's really, really dark. But I cannot
Whoa, and it's like local.
It's local.
That's so interesting. Whoa.
Yeah. So that's what I'm watching, or reading and watching. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I definitely get stuck on all these like crime shows and crime podcasts and books, and
it's funny. I like murder mysteries and stuff like that, but when it comes to that true crime, I'm like hesitant because I will legit get nightmares. Like I just it makes me just not want to trust anybody in the world.
Oh my gosh, that is actually my problem.
Yeah.
I always We were recently ski touring through the parkway and we got back to the vehicle really late and it was dark out and it's like snowy and there's no one on the parkway and we're like loading our stuff up and someone pulls over in front of us and I'm like, this person's gonna kill me. Like, why are these people out here like on the parkway at night? Like, they're gonna kill us.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So yeah.
This is what true crime will do to your brain, for sure.
This is. Yeah. Maybe don't do what I'm doing.
I know to stay away from that because it just creeps me out too much. But it is crazy that stuff is.
It is crazy. It is crazy.
All right. Snapshot question number 2. What is your coffee shop order?
Oh, I just like a black coffee. I'm so basic.
Oh, you're like my husband. That's his thing. Black coffee or black Americano.
Yeah, Americano, please, or just the drip coffee. I'm pretty easy to please when it comes to that.
Awesome. And what is a random pet peeve that you have? And it can be anything.
Okay, this is a serious problem, but a slow walker.
Oh.
Like, especially like if you're like on a busy street or like you're in Costco and there's like slow walkers everywhere and I'm on a mission.
Yes, that's so
like
funny.
Get going, let's go. I have kids to feed.
Yes. Oh man, that's hilarious. That can be really frustrating for sure.
A slow walker.
That's how I feel about slow drivers when like I'm not like a huge speeder, but when someone is like way under the speed limit, you're like, what, are you sleeping? Like, what are you doing?
You're like, what are you doing?
I know.
You're like you're going 50, it's 80. Come on.
Yes, I know. Like, no, none of this under the speed limit stuff.
Yeah. No, you can't do that. No. That's dangerous.
It is dangerous. Like, just put on your 4-ways then or something.
Yeah.
That's really funny. Okay, that was a great answer. I loved it. Well, thank you so much, Lindsey, for coming on. I think this is going to be really beneficial for all of our listeners, especially those considering eloping or maybe trying to decide between doing the big shindig or just running away, just the two of them and doing something really special. So thank you so much. I will include all of your links in the show notes so people can find you. And hopefully we can actually get together and meet in real life this summer.
Yeah, let's do that. I guess I had one more thing, Rebecca. What I was just thinking is that you can still elope and then like go home to your friends and family and have a big barbecue.
Yes.
I think
or like a
that,
potluck.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Have a big potluck barbecue, have your friends and family over there. Go over maybe the photos that were taken on your special day and you can still do 2-in-1.
And 2, you can do that at no timeline. It's just like,
all
right, we're starting at
just
this
chill.
time, we end at this time, and we're just visiting and
exactly.
And then you'll probably have some fun stories to tell from your elopement too.
Yeah, I think that would be like the best of both worlds.
Agreed. I totally agree with that. Really, it comes down to what you want and your personalities and all that, for sure.
And who doesn't like going to a wedding? It's pretty fun.
It is. I mean, I do. That's why I'm doing
I do too.
This. It's a lot of fun. And I do, there's that little girl, like, wedding planner inside of me that, like, I was legitimately that girl who had like the wedding magazines and it's so funny to think of now, but that was me. And I do love the big thing. I love going to them. I love being a part of them. And I think they can be really, really special and super meaningful and just as important as an elopement can be too.
Yeah, for sure.
But it is really cool to have this as an option. So thanks so much for sharing all your expertise.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You guys, you're welcome. Everyone needs to follow Lindsey on her accounts and take a look at her gorgeous work and for sure let her know if you want to work with her.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. We'll chat soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, guys, that's a wrap on our episode all about elopements. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you love this episode or know somebody who would benefit from listening, it would mean so much to me if you would share this episode with them or share on your social media. Tune in next week for another short and sweet Wedding Planning 101 episode. Until then, happy planning!